Good day everyone, good day sir. Before we proceed, may I introduce myself first. I am Mika Aronica and I'll be discussing the continuation for the chapter 6, which is all about moral deliberation. First, let's define what is moral deliberation. So, moral deliberation is the process of thinking carefully about what is right or wrong before making a decision. So, ang kanit ko nung moral deliberation is muna siya proseso sa atong paghuna-huna og tarong bitaw about kung asa jay sakto or sayop before ka magbuhat og decision. It means magamit ta og both reason nato ngano o feelings pod para pilian tong pinaka sakto nga action na atong buhaton, not just because may follow ra ta sa rules or buhat ta og butang para ma-avoid sa mga punishment or to gain rewards. So muna siya moral deliberation. Lawrence Kohlberg he theorized that moral development happens in 6 stages, which he divided into 3 levels. So let's proceed to the next slides. So here are the Kohlberg's theory about stages of moral development. The first level is what he called pre-conventional, and it corresponds to how infants and young children think. So this pre-conventional level whose reasoning is divided into 2 stages. The first stage of reasoning centers around obedience and the avoidance of punishment to a young child minds. So kining stage 1 pasabot niya ni ang ginahuna sa mga bata, like unsa jud ang good or unsa jud ang saktong buhaton, mapuy hinungdan makatabang nila para malikayan ang mga punishment. Like for example, muingon ang bata dili siya maglakaw kay baw siya nga mabunalan siya sa ginikanan if maglakaw siya. So later on, a child enters the second stage of reasoning, which is the stage 2, which is do what gives them pleasures or benefits. When the child does something, kay ba sila nga kining magkahatag nila ang reward or makes them happy. So like for example, tabangan na si mama para katagaan ko niya hindi sa munay pamunauna sa mga bata nga ilang ang consequence nga mabuhat sila o maayaw is na sila benefits or reward na madawat. The second level of moral development, according to Kohlberg, is the conventional. Since this is the age in which older children, adolescents, and young adults learn to conform to the expectation of society. So, kini daw nga levels is ang mga kabatanunan or mga teens or young adults is ang ilang decision nga ilang nahimo is nagbase ra bitaw sa expectation sa uban or nasunod sila sa rules kung unsay rules sa atong society. So the stage 3 is when one begins to act according to what the larger group she belongs to expects to her. So muna buhaton sa usa ka tawo kay para dawat bitaw or para madawat bitaw siya sa society. So nagdepend sila siya, ang iyang decision is nagdepend sila sa external factors. Like for example, dili ko mangopyak sa test because akong amiga o akong extra is dili ganahan na mangopya ko kay muna hinugdan nga ma-disappoint sila naho. So let's move on to the stage 4. It is achieved when a person realizes that following the dictates of her society is not just good for herself, but more importantly, it is necessary for the existence of society itself. So, kini nga stage, ang thinking sa tao ani is ilang sundon ang rules kay ba siya nga dili ra niya makatabang sa iyang kagalingon but nakatabang ni sa ubang tao sa safety and or mga ni order. So like for example, so ang thinking sa tao is I will follow traffic rules kay because para po makip ang people into safety kay ba siya nga kini nga rules is to keep people safe, not just to avoid a ticket. So thinking sa usa ka tawo kini nga stage. So let's move on to the level 3, the post-conventional or the moral maturity. and it is divided into two stages. So kini nga level mo na siya gigamit sa mga tao na matured na maguna-una. And ang ilang pong decision na ilang mabuhat is mag-base ra po na sa universal principles of general medical or unsa to yung gisunod sa kadaghanan sa tibuok kalibutan. Stage 5 is the moral agent sees the value of the social contract. So, ang pagtanaw ani sa mga tao about sa laws or mga rules is importante jud, but only if they promote justice and the common good. Example, tuman ko sa law na nagprotekta sa human rights. Diba kung ini makatabang ni sa kadaghanan dili ra sa kuha pero sa uban pud nga mga tao. So the last stage is acting on universal ethical principles. So kini murag mogawas na pud ang pagmanaw sa usa ka tawo sa pagka-tabang rational thinking bitaw kung unsay ilang angay buhaton even though against sa law or other people. Like, napito kay kagalingon na stand, na kay kagalingon na pagtuo nga. Dili ra based sa external factors na ilo lang kagalingon decision. Like, for example, equality for the LGBTQ. So, even though daghan siya mo, dili mo ayo na ho nga ubang tao. So, lahat na ta ng mga opinion or stand na decision. So, I will respect that and you will respect my decision. Something like that. So let's proceed to the other next subtopic, which is all about feelings in moral deliberation. So emotion or feelings have long been derided by purely rationalistic perspectives as having no place in a properly executed moral decisions. So, kasabot daw ani na daw ubang mga tao nga ang kana daw atong emotion is wala daw, dili daw kamit ini himo na to moral decision, ini himo na to decision, but only ang logic ra daw na mag-guide nato or may atong gamiton na the emotions. So kini nga biyo man na siya gitawag og rationalism or rationalistic thinking bitaw. Kay is kana daw feeling is usa ka distraction nga maka-lead to bad or unclear decisions. So mana siya. Pero in real life daw, ang feelings daw or emotion is part daw na kung para sa atong pagsabi kung usa ang sakto or sayop. Some emotion can derail us from clear-minded decisions, but human choice can be words of all feelings. So, meaning daw na ubang mga emotions like anger, jealousy, or panic na makadistract bitaw sa atong pag-think na makahimuan ang decision and can cause us to make poor or impulsive choices na siya kanang naka-disadvantage. But however, it's not possible to na kinahanglan jud tanang emotions sa atong decision is ato yung ihawa. It is because napoy laing emotions like empathy, love, or compassion na makatabang pud nato or sa ubang tao para makabuhat po kanang right thing. So muna siya kasabutan. So like for example, if you're angry, so kung maitudyo ka mo na siya posibilidad na mo yell ka or na mga ito ka sa someone nga kung makapanakit ka sa nila. So but if you feel guilt after yan na, so kanang emotion, kanang guilt nga emotion nga imong ma-feel is makapush ni mo para kita mga yung sorry or buhato ng sakto. So emotion help us guide better choice. Aristotle precisely points out that moral virtue goes beyond the mere act of intellectually identifying the right thing to do. Instead, it is the condition of one's character by which the agent is able to manage her emotional or feelings. Her emotions or feelings. Note that Aristotle doesn't say remove all feelings. Instead, he sees that cultivating one's characteristic and to manage one's feelings. So, matut daw ni Aristotle, ang moral virtue daw is not just about thinking right or unsay sakto, but it also about feeling and acting right. So, by learning how to manage your emotions in mature and balanced way. Like for example, if na someone nga mo insult nimo, ang bad reaction is maito ka or imo silang physical, but a good reaction ana or mo na gitawag moral virtue is imo ma-feel ra is ma-upset ka but stay calm ka. Respond murag imong respond ba is respect to gihapon or dili na lang nimo pansinon. It is because matured ka. Ikaw na lang mo adjust kay iba ka kung sa mahimong consequences. There is a popular Filipino sayings, tulak ng bibig, kapig ng dibdib. Literally, the mouth says one thing but the heart drives you to do another thing. So, meaning daw ani, ang kaning saying means na, usahay daw, ang tao is makasulti siya sa kabutang. But, ang pinod na feel niya means, nabitay true, meaning, na ay something else deep inside butang. So, like for example, kasoy naman ko ani, kanang mga anak mo. Bahala ka dira kung maunsa ka, para bitong ikan ka na-upset bitaw or nag-away mo ng mga tawhanan din, makasulti ka, sakit ng mga words. But later is, kag ma-worry, mag-guilt because hindi sulti mo. Lain mo ma-feel, then imig silang i-check bitaw or something like mo. Ang tanawon ko sa ilang sitwasyon, something like that. Moral problems what must a morally mature individual do when she is confronted with moral problem? In order to answer this question, we must first understand that there are different types of moral problems, so each one requiring a particular set of rational deliberation. We may attempt to construct an outline of what we ought to do when confronted with a potential ethical issue. So step 1, determine level of involvement. So are we making a moral decision or moral judgment? So distinction. Moral judgment not involved personally. So moral decisions, direct involvement, being a moral agent. So ethics education encourages moral imagination and reasoning. Step 2, ascertain the facts. Establish if the situation is a genuine moral issue. Differentiate from issues of aesthetics or etiquette. Gather all relevant facts. Avoid hearsay and anecdotes, assumption, fake news, and alternative facts. Step 3, identify stakeholders. Recognize all affected individuals. Move beyond self-centered reasoning. Consider others with considered welfare for impartial judgment. Step 4, assess stakeholders' concerns, like evaluate how choices affects. Understand degrees of impact necessary for a comprehensive ethical assessment. The last step is identify ethical issue. Clarify whether an action is morally right or wrong. Use ethical theories, utilitarianism, natural law, deontology, or virtue ethics. The value of studying ethical theories or frameworks. Role of ethical theories in moral choice. Serve as guideposts in moral decision making. Aid in answering what ought I to do and why ought I to do so. So first, theories is utilitarianism. So emphasize impartiality and common good, measures goodness by greatest happiness for the greatest number. Each stakeholder has equal moral worth. Second is natural law theory by Thomas Aquinas, rooted in human nature and natural indication. First inclination preserves one's existence. Third inclination promotes truth and social harmony. Moral responsibility includes self-care, truthfulness, and peaceful coexistence. The third one is the Kantian deontology, centers on rational will and autonomy. Principle of universalizability, act on maxims all can follow. Principle of humanity, treat humanity as an end, not a means. Emphasize dignity and self-legislation in moral law. Warn against reducing others to instruments. Respect autonomy in interpersonal relation. The fourth one is Aristotle virtue ethics, focus on character development and practical wisdom. Misotis mean guides action in specific context, emphasizes managing emotion and close relationships. So the last one, application for personal relationships. Utilitarianism prioritizes collective happiness and actions. Natural law, value of life and care of offspring. Conscience ethics, respect for autonomy and intrinsic human worth. Virtue ethics, balance, emotional awareness, and character growth. So that's all for my discussion today, and thank you for listening.